guys have had the pleasure of being my audience all semester. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So this final speech is going to be a speech from my group. Our group chose to discuss pollution. What is pollution? I think we've all been guilty of polluting the earth or the environment in some way, shape, or form, and we may not have known or we may have known. But today we are going to go over what pollution is. So, the book definition of pollution. Pollution from the book's version is the presence or introduction into the environment of a substance or thing that has a harmful or poisonous effect on the environment. What does that typically mean? What does that generally mean, just in a nutshell? Basically, toxins, toxic things that we put into the Earth's environment that we produce, and it has a negative effect. So, there are 4 types of pollution. These are the main types of pollution, and maybe more, but these are the main forms of pollution. Does anyone know what the 4 types are, or at least one? No? Well, I'm going to tell you. So, the 4 types of pollution are air pollution, water pollution, light pollution, and noise pollution. So I know you guys are just dying to know what the pollution means or what that type of pollution stands for. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you just what that pollution is. So the first type of pollution is air pollution. The title says enough. It's pollution that pollutes our air. So with air pollution, it disrupts our air, and then typically it comes from factories, vehicles, anything that can pollute things and have a fume that goes up into our air. So later in our speech, we're going to go into examples and causes and effects of air pollution. The next pollution is water pollution. Now with water pollution, it disrupts our water and our sea life. Agriculture fields, urban areas, and industrial sites contribute the most to destroying our sea life and our water supply system. So that is water pollution. The next form of pollution is light pollution. Now, this one I was not familiar with before our group decided to do research on pollution. And this type of pollution is pollution when large amounts of light are produced. It destroys our environment. And I know that's kind of weird to say, how can light destroy an environment? But light can be a part of pollution. And I'll go over again in a moment how light affects the pollution. Lastly, we have noise pollution. Noise pollution, again, this one is fairly simple. The name says a lot. Pollution from noise. Excessive noises, loud noises, anything can contribute to affecting our environment, and I will give you the consequences of all of these pollutions. So now that we know what the pollutions are, let's look at some of the causes that these pollutions cause. Now for every cause, there is always an effect, and we will definitely go into the effects in a moment. But some of the known causes of pollution are burning of fossil fuels, definitely affects our air. Runoff from agriculture fields, that can be pesticides that they put into the crops, any type of chemicals that they spray on their cornfields, and it actually goes into our water system. Industrial sites affects our water system. Urban areas can affect the water and air, so that is both for causes. Large amounts of light produced affects our light pollution, and then any loud or disruptive noise goes into our noise pollution. So now, let's look at the effects of some of these pollutions we have. Those are the consequences. So let's look at some of the potential consequences that these pollutions can do. Now for air, burning of that fossil fuel we discussed causes smog. Smog in the air can linger over large cities, small cities, causing respiratory issues like asthma, lung cancer, and chronic bronchitis. Another consequence is when nitrogen and sulfur mix inside the air, it creates acid rain. Acid rain destroys our our forests, our monuments, and our buildings because the pH level is imbalanced in the water any longer. For water pollution, that's when agriculture fields, crops, corn, things of that nature, they produce too much chemical in the water, and then it goes into our water supply, which produces too much algae in our sea. When too much algae is produced into the sea life, that cuts off a lot of oxygen for animals that need the plants under the water for oxygen, which in turn suffocates them. Raw sewage can also pollute the water, and it can cause digestive issues and spread disease such as typhoid. A good example of raw sewage spreading would be the Flint, Michigan situation. And lastly, trash is a huge consequence, such as fishing lines, plastic bags getting tangled within these animals and then killing them. So, as far as light and noise pollution, light pollution, what does that affect environmentally? That affects nocturnal animals. So now, when there's too much light, the nocturnal animals such as owls, raccoons, bats, they in turn won't come out and won't produce as they should because the light has polluted their environment. And just as far as noise pollution, it's just too much noise from machinery or things around our house that contribute to affecting the environment. All of this info I did research from Sciencey.com, which is a great site to get your information from. Lastly, and we're going to wrap this up, is simple solutions we can do for these things not to happen. As far as air, we can carpool, we can use electric cars, avoid burning any leaves, eliminate wood stove use, check tire levels. I know you're wondering how tire levels make a difference, but if your tire levels don't have the proper air level in them, it could make your car distribute fumes and put that into the air. You also look for Energy Star labels when buying appliances. For water, be mindful what you throw down your sink. No oils, paints, or anything like that, as well as your toilets. Don't litter, and then make sure you recycle your plastics and your glasses. As far as light, purchase only IDA light fixtures. Use core glow stones for outdoor lighting. And then just inform your neighbors of the light pollution because a lot of people don't know. And darksky.com is a great source of information to go to if you want to learn more about light pollution. And lastly, we have noise pollution. We can do a solution for noise by turning off appliances that make excessive noise, such as your central air. Put it on a constant temperature so it's not constantly running, making noise in the air. You can follow the limits of noise levels. Shut doors when using loud machinery in factories. Lower the volume. And lastly, we can plant more trees. Believe it or not, trees absorb noise by 5 to 10 decibels, and that will definitely help us with the noise pollution. So that concludes my presentation from our group on pollution. I hope I was able to teach everyone something, and you guys have a great day. Now, are there any questions? All right, great. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.